Before you go any further, let us know where you're watching from. And if you believe veterans deserve more than just a thank you, comment "Respect for Veterans" to show you stand for honor, sacrifice, and dignity. In the quiet town of Riverbrook, a single cruel moment became the spark that lit a revolution. Snow fell gently, blanketing the streets in white silence as most people hurried through the cold, shoulders hunched, heads down. But Eli Turner moved with quiet purpose. His pace was steady, undeterred by the biting wind. The old military jacket draped over his broad frame bore a faded U.S. flag patch, his boots cracked with years of wear. His appearance may have told one story, but the way he carried himself told another, of dignity, of discipline, of something earned through pain. Check the exits. Identify the threats. Maintain situational awareness, he murmured to himself. A mantra from another life. It was a ritual that kept his mind sharp even after all the world had taken from him. Just ahead, the flickering neon sign of the Red Rail Diner cut through the haze of snowfall like a beacon. The diner was open 24 hours, and tonight, for once, Eli had enough to afford a real meal. A small veterans assistance check had cleared the day before. He stepped inside, the bell above the door jingling softly. The warmth and the scent of coffee and grilled food wrapped around him like an old blanket. For a second, he closed his eyes to soak it in, but when he opened them, the diner had fallen silent. Conversations halted. Forks hung in midair. People glanced at him, then away. A mother pulled her child close. An old man hid his wallet. Eli had seen it all before. He was used to being feared or ignored. He chose a stool at the counter, one, with a view of the door and kitchen. Old habits. "Just passing through," he said softly, "looking for a hot meal." Rachel Miller approached the counter with practiced ease. At 23, she'd worked at the Red Rail for 2 years, supporting her younger brother, who was training to become a cop. She could spot trouble, but something about this man, his calm, alert eyes, made her pause. "Can I get you something, sir?" she asked, offering him a menu. "Coffee, black," Eli said, his voice low but refined. "And whatever's the special, if it's not too much trouble, ma'am." Ma'am, not sweetheart or honey, like most of the regulars. Rachel found herself smiling as she poured his coffee. "Meatloaf tonight. Comes with mashed potatoes, green beans, and a roll." "That sounds perfect," Eli replied, wrapping his hands around the warm mug. "Been a while since I had a home-cooked meal." In the corner booth, officers Barnes and Kyle, regulars at the diner, watched the exchange with amusement. Kyle, with his linebacker build and cocky grin, snorted. "Dumpster diving doesn't count as dining out, huh?" Barnes smirked. "Better keep the silverware count, Rachel." Rachel forced a smile, her face burning. She said nothing, just entered Eli's order and moved toward the kitchen. Behind her, the officers rose and sauntered toward the counter. "Hey, Rachel," Kyle said as he sat down next to Eli, his voice full of mock concern. "How's your brother doing at the academy? Still planning to join the force?" "He's doing great," she answered neutrally. "Top of his class in marksmanship." "Good man. We need more like him," Kyle said, then turned to Eli. "You know what that means, right? Keeping the streets clean. No room for the beggars, junkies, or fake veterans looking for sympathy." Barnes slid onto the stool on the other side of Eli, boxing him in. "You'd be amazed how many heroes never saw a day of combat. But boy, can they work the system." Rachel returned with Eli's food, hands slightly shaking. "Can I get you gentlemen anything else?" she asked. "We're good," Kyle said, grabbing a sugar packet and tossing it onto Eli's plate. "There you go, buddy. Dance for your dinner." Silence fell over the diner. Phones appeared discreetly. A teen in the corner began recording, but Eli remained calm. He picked up the packet, placed it back on their table, and said, "I earned my dignity in Kandahar. I don't need to earn it again from you." Kyle's face darkened. Barnes reached toward his holster. You threatening an officer, vagrant? No, sir, Eli said, turning back to his food. Just having dinner. That's it, Kyle barked, standing. You're disturbing the peace. Time to go. Eli didn't move. I paid for my meal. I've broken no laws. Barnes loomed over him. Refusing a lawful order is a charge. Buddy, Rachel stepped forward. Officers, please, he hasn't done. Stay out of this, Rachel, Barnes snapped. Unless you want trouble too. Your brother wouldn't like that. Rachel stepped back, but her hand slipped into her apron and began recording on her phone. Kyle grabbed Eli's arm, yanking him from the stool. Eli didn't resist. If something happens to me, he said clearly to Rachel, call General Whitaker at the Pentagon. Tell him Eli Turner is in trouble. Barnes laughed. Yeah, sure. And I've got the president on speed dial. They dragged Eli across the parking lot and slammed him into their patrol car. His dog tags fell into the snow. Kyle stepped on them and kicked them aside. Oops, guess you're not such a hero after all. Rachel stood frozen in the diner doorway. Then she ran outside, dug through the snow, and found the tags. Turner, Elijah J. Methodist. The recording was still running. Her hands trembling, Rachel opened her phone and whispered, "Please don't be crazy." Then she pressed call. Rachel locked herself in the tiny employee bathroom at the Red Rail Diner, her hands trembling as she stared at her phone screen. The Pentagon's main number was pulled up and ready to dial. It felt insane. She was just a waitress in a town, barely visible on a state map. And now she was about to call the Pentagon because a homeless man told her to. But she couldn't shake the look in Eli Turner's eyes, that mix of resignation and strength. And now in her pocket rested his dog tags. Cold, heavy, real. Just do it, she whispered, and pressed the call button. It rang 3 times before a calm, professional voice answered. Department of Defense. How may I direct your call? Rachel swallowed. I need to speak to General Whitaker. It's about Eli Turner. He's in trouble. There was a pause, and Rachel braced herself for the laugh, the click of a disconnected line. But instead the voice said, "One moment, please." Clicks, transfers. Then a new voice, crisp and military. "This is Colonel Reynolds, General Whitaker's aide. Who is this?" "My name is Rachel Miller. I work at a diner in Riverbrook, Pennsylvania. Eli Turner was just arrested. He told me to call the general." Another pause, longer. Then, "Miss Miller, please hold for General Whitaker." Her heart pounded. Was this actually happening? Moments later, a deeper, older voice came on the line. "This is General Harold Whitaker. You have information about Sergeant Elijah Turner?" Rachel's voice trembled as she recounted what had happened. How the officers mocked him, dragged him outside, how they stomped on his dog tags. When she finished, silence hung heavy on the line. Then, "You did the right thing, Miss Miller. I want that video recording sent to me immediately. My aide will text you a secure number. Then I want you to go home and stay there. Do not discuss this with anyone else. Understood?" "Yes, sir," she said, overwhelmed. "But will Eli be okay?" The general's tone softened. "Sergeant Turner is one of the finest soldiers I've ever commanded, and I take care of my people." In Washington, General Whitaker hung up and stared at the old photo on his desk. Eli Turner, younger, dirt-streaked, standing beside him in Afghanistan. The man had carried him through gunfire. He wasn't about to let him get buried. In silence now, he picked up a secure phone. "Authorization code, Sierra Echo 94 Alpha A," he said. "We have a situation in Riverbrook. A decorated veteran is being held under questionable circumstances. I want DOD Internal Affairs and DOJ Civil Rights on site within the hour." He made 5 more calls. To Justice, to the Secretary of Defense, to a civil rights attorney named Ava Washington. "Ava," he said when she answered, "it's your godfather." Her voice lit up. "Uncle Harry, what's the occasion?" "I need a favor, a big one. Name it. I need you in Pennsylvania. There's a man named Eli Turner. He's in trouble." There was a pause. Then, "I'll pack a bag." Back in Riverbrook, Eli sat in a cold holding cell, his eyes closed, breathing steady. His ribs ached, his wrists were sore, but he was calm. He used the time to meditate, an old survival trick he'd learned at Walter Reed. He let his mind drift to safer places. The metal door clanged open. Two people in crisp suits approached, a man and a woman, both flashing federal credentials. "Mr. Turner," the woman said, her tone respectful. "You're free to go." Eli opened his eyes slowly. That was faster than usual. Special Agent Daniels. "Duty Internal Affairs," the man said. "This is Agent Morales. We're here at General Whitaker's request." A flicker of a smile touched Eli's lips. The old man came through. They escorted him past a stunned Officer Barnes, who was in the middle of an argument with the sheriff. As they passed, Daniels turned to the officers. "The Department of Defense is conducting a full investigation into your treatment of a decorated veteran. I suggest you brush up on the Constitution." Barnes's face turned pale. Kyle's expression twisted into pure hate. Outside, snow still blanketed the streets. The agents offered Eli a ride, but he shook his head. "I'll walk, thank you." Across the street, Rachel stood shivering. When she saw him, her face lit up and she hurried toward him. "You're okay," she said breathlessly. "I was so scared. You made the call," Eli said quietly, not a question. She nodded, pulling something from her coat. "His dog tags. I didn't believe it would work. I mean, calling the Pentagon?" Her voice cracked. Eli took the tags and slipped the chain over his head. "It always works," he said. Truth scares cowards." He turned to leave, but Rachel stopped him. "Wait." She handed him a paper-wrapped package. "Your dinner. You never got to eat. I had it boxed up." Eli accepted it with a nod. "Kindness is rare. Remember that." He walked away through the snow. Rachel stood watching until he disappeared into the night, unaware that she had just become a part of something far greater than she imagined. 3 days after his arrest, Eli Turner sat in the quiet common room of the Pine Grove shelter. A warm cup of coffee steamed in front of him, untouched. His thoughts were elsewhere. Back in Kandahar, back in Riverbrook's holding cell, back to Rachel's face as she picked his dog tags out of the snow. The door opened. A confident woman in a navy blue suit walked in, her heels clicking sharply against the worn linoleum. She moved like someone used to getting answers. Ava Washington had arrived. "Mr. Turner?" she asked, extending a hand. "I'm Ava Washington. General Whitaker sent me." Eli studied her. Sharp eyes, measured tone, no wasted movements. She was serious and very good. "You're fast," he said, shaking her hand. "Usually, military takes 10 years to do anything." "General Whitaker said you'd say that," she replied with a smirk. "He also said you're smart enough to know when help is real. I've been fixing my own messes for a long time, Ms. Washington. I'm not here for your mess. I'm here for the systems." She opened her briefcase, spread files across the table. "What happened at the diner wasn't an isolated event. I've found prior complaints against Officers Barnes and Kyle. Use of force, intimidation, even missing persons. All ignored." Eli frowned. "And you think I'm the key to exposing it?" "I think you're the match that lit the fuse. I want to hear your full story, and I want to meet the waitress who filmed everything." An hour later, Rachel nervously handed her phone to Ava in a coffee shop 3 towns over. "I've got the footage from that night. I also pulled security footage from the diner's cameras the next morning. My friend Mark had access." Ava raised an eyebrow. "Smart. I kept thinking, if I hadn't made that call." Rachel swallowed. "What if they'd hurt him? What if no one ever knew?" "You did more than most would," Eli told her gently. "A lot more." Back in Ava's motel room, the team watched the footage. It was worse than she'd imagined. The casual cruelty, The officer's mocking tone, the forceful arrest, Barnes stepping on Eli's dog tags. It wasn't just unprofessional, it was inhumane. By evening, Ava had compiled a working case file. "These complaints were buried for a reason," she said, holding up a list. "Captain Brick, head of internal affairs, has dismissed